we're found out. However, Dad doesn't panic. Our bunker is designed to run on batteries. To prevent any mishaps like this, Ned calls over 2 thugs and begins digging down the ventilation duct. Buzz! As they touch the protective mesh around the duct, a bluish arc of electricity flashed through him. It's a battery-connected high-voltage transformer. It can't kill anyone, but it can electrocute them instead. We hear screaming outside. Shit! I got electrocuted. Alex Levine has been on guard against us. Any injuries or shock that causes sweating in this -40°F weather can easily cause death by hypothermia. They don't dare to linger. They just swear at us before leaving. However, that's just the start. An even greater crisis descended that night. The entire power grid in the area collapsed. Initially, faint lights can still be seen far away, but now, everything went out. The world is plunged into absolute darkness. Our cell phones are now useless bricks. As the last bit of signal died down, we're on our own now. Activate the diesel generator, Dad orders. A rumbling sound echoes in the soundproof bunker. Although there are layers of soundproofing, the ground still shakes and vibrates slightly. In the silent underground, with electricity, we turn on the old radio and listen to intermittent broadcasts on it. It's a global disaster, and we were to take refuge in a place. While waiting for help, Mom counts the remaining coal bricks and suddenly pales. Alex, look at this corner. A layer of white frost is seeping out. From the southeast corner of the bunker, was the aerogel mat not applied properly? Dad goes over and touches it. His face turns grim. No. It's already frozen solid. The outside has been frozen to a 10-foot depth, and cold air is penetrating through the concrete. If it drops to -100°F, our insulation layer may not hold up. Back at the city center, the once glamorous 5-star hotel is now just a giant ice casket. Jenny wraps herself up in an expensive mink coat, but still shivers from the cold. Meanwhile, Tom huddles up in a corner, wrapped up in all the curtains. All wooden furniture has been burned as firewood, including the expensive bed being burned to ashes. There's no food left, Tom says hoarsely, his eyes sinister. The $500,000 have all been used up, buying bags, watches, and the useless mink coat. They didn't even buy a single pack of instant noodles. Go find Wendy, Tom suddenly says, standing up. His eyes flash sinisterly. Wendy has to have prepared for this, going back. There are also bunkers and firewood there. How do we get there? It's 60°F outside. Jenny cries out, I have a car. Tom reveals a car key. It is the key to an off-road vehicle that he retrieved from a corpse in the underground parking garage. The car has been modified and can still start up. They can survive if they don't die halfway there. They rush out of the hotel like mad dogs, passing frozen corpses everywhere. Some were in crawling positions, and some were hammering at the shop fronts. Luck is with them. The off-roader roars to life, its gas tank full, smashing through ice sculptures and wrecked cars. On the way back to Blackville, a day later, an off-roader belching black smoke crashes into a massive tree. The door opens, and 2 ghastly figures crawl out. Jenny's face is frozen purple. She looks toward the Levines' home far away. That isn't covered in snow. A frosty look in her eyes. We're going to make it. Tom, we're going to live. We are all having dinner. Tonight, we're having calorie-dense food to keep ourselves warm, like rice and stew. Suddenly, the buzzer in the scope goes off. Someone's nearby. I go over to have a look, and widen my eyes in shock. It's Jenny and Tom, but they aren't alone. Ned and 2 others are also with them. Wendy. Mom. Dad. It's me, Jenny. Jenny's voice is heard through the loudspeaker, sounding exceptionally piercing in the silence. I know you're in there. Tom told me everything. You sold your house and cars for $10 million. I know the house is filled with food. Damn it. She's such an idiot. She revealed all our secrets so that Ned would show them the way and not kill them. Everybody, Jenny shouted at the villagers. My mom and dad are down here. They have tons of supplies. Everyone will survive if we all break this door down. Her tactic is simply too ruthless. The villagers were only suspicious at first, but now, they know the truth. We had supplies worth $10 million in here. Just how much food and coal would that be? Break it down. Ned yelled, his eyes red, waving his hand. 3 pickaxes and hammers slam down against our first blast-proof door. Mom's hands are shaking in the bunker as she tightly grips Dad's arm. Dad's face is grim. He sets down his food and walks over to the control panel, opening the valve for the manual water pump. It wasn't connected to a well, but to a high-pressure water pipe buried near the doorway. Water is the most deadly weapon in -60°F weather. After all, turn it on. Dad says coldly. I press down forcefully on the handle. Splash! A hidden spray in the door sprays water at them. This isn't normal water. Dad added a lot of salt to the water tank, lowering the freezing point to keep it in liquid form before spraying. Once it's sprayed at an object, it will freeze instantly in the cold wind. There are loud screams at the door. The people banging on the door are soaked, and their clothes freeze solid within seconds. Their hands are also frozen to the pickaxes. However, I see that Tom hides behind Jenny, using her as a shield. Meanwhile, Jenny is covered in icicles and frozen in place like an ice sculpture, her eyes filled with despair and disbelief. Their screams are ripped apart by the cold wind. The high-pressure sprinkler Dad designed is originally intended to rinse off chemical suits, but now, it is a lethal defensive weapon. There's a high concentration of salt in the water, and it doesn't form ice in -60 degrees Fahrenheit weather. Instead, it turns into a supercooled water mist. As soon as it lands on an object's surface, it will absorb a huge amount of heat at once, and form a hardened ice armor. Ned was at the very front, but the moment he raised his homemade rifle, he was sprayed with salt water. Crack! He freezes before he can pull the trigger. His fingers can't bend anymore. Then, his eyelashes, stubble, and the hot breath from his mouth frost over within seconds. Terrified, he tries to wipe his face, but his glove gets stuck to his face instead. Tom! Save me! Jenny screams so loudly her voice cracks. Through the periscope, I witness a scene that chills me to the bone. The instant the water spray erupted, the same man who said he loved her, and vowed to keep her alive, yanked Jenny toward himself, without any hesitation, and used her as his shield. The expensive but useless mink coat on Jenny turns into a sopping sponge at once, the fabric soaking through, and clinging tightly to her body. She became Tom's human shield. Are you crazy? It's freezing, Tom! What are you doing? Jenny keeps struggling, but Tom grips her shoulders firmly, and hides himself behind her shivering body, his eyes filled with survival, desperation, and resentment toward us. Stop moving, you're my girlfriend, you should protect me, Tom roars, his voice trembling violently. Wendy! Open up, you bitch, your sister is freezing to death. At that moment, Jenny stops struggling, not because she wants to, but because she's frozen solid. Her mink coat has now transformed into a suit of ice armor, weighing her down, and trapping her firmly in place. She is facing our periscope directly, and the look in her eyes shifts, from fear to anger, to a final blank desperation. Ned's two henchmen try rolling on the ground, but the ice layer on them only grew thicker. They end up twitching in the snow. Ned is strong, but is also kneeling on the ground, like a bizarre ice sculpture, letting out loud, ragged breaths from his mouth. Is it all over now? Not yet. Dad suddenly points to a corner and says, Tom isn't dead yet. He isn't very wet. Also, what is he doing? On the screen, Tom realizes that Jenny can't move anymore, and shoves her frozen body to the ground. He retrieves a water bottle from his arms, a homemade Molotov cocktail, and ignites the fuse, before throwing it at our ventilation duct. Die! Die, all of you! Boom! The bomb smashes against the vent protective cover, and bursts into flames. But this is just a fleeting moment in the cold. Dad had double-proofed and insulated the vent, so the fire lasts less than half a minute, before the wind put it out. Yet, Tom doesn't stop there. He looks like a gambler who lost everything, as he raises the crowbar in his hand, and bashes the ventilation duct with it. Come out! Give me food! I have money! That stupid bitch gave me all her money! I can pay you! Tom keeps bashing the vent, while shouting and howling incoherently. However, he forgets that this is -60 degrees Fahrenheit hell. He may have escaped a majority of the water spray earlier, but his pants are soaked. I watch him coldly, through the observation periscope. His actions are slowing down rapidly. 5 minutes later, the hammering on the door stops. Tom remains in his kneeling position, his hands gripping the door frame, and his face pressed against the metal door. He died with his eyes wide open. The 5 ice statues outside the door are now the new guardians of our bunker. We may have eliminated the hidden dangers, but we also gave away our location. These statues act as a warning and a road sign. The next morning, Dad checks the gadgets as usual. Suddenly, his face turns very pale. He taps on the barometer with shaky fingers. This is bad. What is? I ask, my heart dropping. Not the gadget, he said, turning around, with a deep fear in his eyes. It's the air pressure. It's dropping rapidly. This means that a massive blizzard is coming, the kind with winds that can uproot houses. At this moment, our bunker door is sealed with a thick ice layer, because of the water spraying yesterday. If the exhaust pipe is also buried by heavy snow, we will suffocate from lack of oxygen. The so-called massive blizzard is a lot worse than ever expected. The howling sound from the surface is now replaced with the roar of heavy sand crushing steel plates. Then, the oxygen monitor emits a piercing red light. Carbon dioxide levels are skyrocketing. As the exhaust is blocked, due to heavy snow or a collapsed camouflage, our family will suffocate and die if it's not cleared immediately. Let's go. Dad says without hesitation. He drags out the spare industrial hydraulic jack and an extended alloy drill bit, aiming for the emergency repair well. I grip the drill handle tightly, while Mom cranked up the blower frantically, trying to squeeze out all the air from the pipe. I begin seeing stars due to a lack of oxygen. My lungs feel like they're on fire. 10 minutes later, there's a loud clang. The drill bit got stuck, as it struck metal. Yet, Dad looks happy. It's a car chassis. A car was blown over by the wind, which happened to cover the exhaust pipe. The jack made a loud hydraulic sound. Then, with a muffled thud, a metallic groan comes from above, and a rush of icy yet very sweet air rushes in. We gasp greedily for air. Dad pushes open the top cover, and I extend the periscope through the crack. It turns out to be Ned's off-roader, acting as a shield to shield us from the snow. I adjust the angle and look into the distance. Feeling my heart lurch, a series of fresh, messy footprints is seen. Amidst the vast and desolate white snowfield, I follow the footprints and adjust the focus. 3 hunched figures appear in the lens at once. The leader is Eric Holst, the village cripple. He's usually honest and unassuming, but now, he's leading 2 scrawny villagers and breaking into the village reserves in a frenzy. The door is pried open, but it's empty inside, with just moldy grains and rat droppings. At that moment, humanity means nothing anymore. Eric grabs a brick without hesitation and smashes it against the villager's head. Fresh blood spills onto the snow, like a glaring red flower. He also swiftly kills the other villager, grabs a handful of moldy grain and droppings, and shoves them down his throat, chewing hard. Meanwhile, I'm having lunch in the bunker. Lunch is beef curry with some rice, and the fragrance fills the air. Starving people can no longer act humanely. Dad picks up some beef and stares blankly at the screen. This is the gap caused by the apocalypse. Some people kill for a moldy bite to eat, and some people enjoy hot meals in a bunker. On the screen, Eric tries to bring home a bloody sack of grains, when he suddenly freezes on the spot. 3 pairs of eerie green lights just appeared behind the snow-covered slope. The lights are the eyes of 3 starving wolves. Wild beasts that survive this frigid hell are the strongest and most resilient. Eric doesn't even have time to run before the first wolf bites his calf in 2, and the second one attacks his throat. His screams echo in the bunker speakers. The fight lasted less than 20 seconds, and blood froze rapidly on the snow. The wolves didn't even look at the bag of grains that were exchanged for 2 other lives. The wolves don't leave after their feast. Instead, they circle around our ventilation duct, their nostrils twitching. They can sniff our human presence. Reinforcements. Dad says, setting down his food and heading toward the workbench to weld. 6 rows of barbed wire behind the blast-proof door. Whoever forces their way in will die. While tidying up the pile of coal, Mom suddenly exclaims, "Alex! Look, a metal box fell out of a hidden compartment." At the bottom of the coal box, there are 10 neat boxes of amoxicillin there, a free gift from the coal seller. We didn't notice it back then, and now, it's a priceless life-saving medicine. While rejoicing over this sudden windfall, the silent shortwave radio suddenly lights up. After some crackling sounds, a strange male voice rings out with a smirk. "I found you. I've found the treasure grove in Blackville. We'll attack tomorrow. Bring the flamethrower. We're burning the whole shell down." The crackling sounds like nails on a blackboard. Dad tries adjusting the radio frequency, his face illuminated by the flickering red light. The man's voice rings out again, so clear it seems like he's beside us. "Target confirmed. That's the place. Ned died there a few days ago. The ice statues at our door are too conspicuous. Our trophies, the few frozen corpses at our door, ultimately lured the vultures toward us. It's all underground. They must have a lot of reserves." The men don't even bother searching the corpses. Dad turns off the radio volume, and the bunker goes deathly quiet. Prepare for battle. This time, we won't be on the defensive anymore. Mom rummages through the supplies and finds a few bottles of strong liquor and spirits she couldn't bear to drink last time. Now, she smashes them open and pours the liquor into a glass bottle before stuffing it with greasy rag strips. I sit by the whetstone, holding the compound bow, as I sharpen the arrowheads rhythmically, gleaming coldly under the light. We feel no fear but the calm of rising adrenaline. It's a dog-eat-dog world where weakness is a sin. Later that night, the voice appears on the radio again, with an arrogant air of certainty. "We attack midnight tomorrow. Just the 3 of us. There won't be enough for all of us. They can never stand up to a flamethrower." A blizzard rages late that night. Loud roars tear through the silence of the night, as 3 snowmobiles emerge from the blizzard and stop at the entrance to our bunker. Through the periscope, I see 3 tightly bundled figures approach us. They say nothing. The leader waves his hand, and a man with a huge tank on his back steps up. Whoosh, whoosh, a long trail of flames appears in the air. It's an industrial flamethrower. The orange flames look really eerie in this minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit weather. They rapidly melt the thick ice sealing the door, turning it into scalding steam at once. Then, the outside of the blast-proof door changes color, from black to maroon, then to bright red. The temperature alarm in the bunker won't stop going off like crazy. The icy bunker is soon turned into an oven. We hurriedly remove our clothes. As sweat streams down our faces, waves of heat seep through the door cracks, smelling of burned metal. The door won't hold much longer. The ceiling strip is melting. Mom grips her Molotov cocktail harder, but Dad checks the screen calmly instead, and puts his hand on a red button. It's a fire prevention mechanism, a dry powder fire extinguisher. However, the nozzle isn't filled with fire retardants. Instead, it's filled with flour from the mill. If the intruders want fire, we'll give them fire. Dad then presses down hard on the switch. But the pressure valve hidden above the door frame suddenly shoots out 2 streams of white smoke. However, it's not smoke but fine flour dust. With the extreme pressure, the flour dust envelopes the whole doorway area in high concentrations and surrounds the man with the flamethrower. The man obviously doesn't know physics and doesn't even have time to react, as he's still operating the flamethrower. An open flame, a confined space, and flour dust. Boom! There's a loud explosion, like a thunderclap from a storm. A massive shockwave of flames instantly engulf everything at the entrance. The periscope screen goes completely white. Then, there's a violent tremor, as dust and dirt fall from above our heads. Seconds later, visibility is restored. The snow is charred black, and the man with the flamethrower is gone. Or maybe his just charred remains on the ground that can't even be identified anymore. His companion is sent flying 40 feet into the air, landing on a dead tree branch, not knowing if he's dead or alive. Did we win? I tighten my hold on the bow. Not yet. Dad stares at a corner of the screen. The leader is very lucky. He was standing far away during the blast, and he was just knocked over by the shockwave. His face is covered in blood, and an arm looks bent at a wrong angle. However, he staggers up unsteadily and grins in a twisted manner. He retrieves a dark green object with his intact left hand and pulls the safety ring, pressing it against the warped door crack. Come out. If not, I'll drop this, and we'll die together. Don't be impulsive. I quickly turn on the speaker at the door. My voice is so calm I can't even recognize myself. That grenade will create a crater at most, but you're standing on top of explosives. There are 10 tons of TNT stored under your feet. If you drop the grenade, then we'll all be blown into ashes. Everything I say is a lie. However, at a crucial timing like this, the person who fears dying the most loses. The leader's eyes glinted slightly, his hand holding the grenade tensing up, his hesitating and assessing the situation. At that critical moment, Dad stands at the firing port like a statue, the compound bow fully drawn and taut, as he looks through the scope, where the leader's wrist is largely magnified. Then, the bowstring releases with a twang. A carbon steel arrow whistles through the air, piercing the man's wrist at once, and pinning him firmly to the frozen ground. The pain makes him release the grenade, and it tumbles down the steps, finally landing in a snowdrift. Boom! The explosion can be heard from blocks away. A cloud of snow rises in the air, but the blast-proof door isn't damaged at all. Before the man can even recover from the pain, Mom lights up the Molotov cocktail, and tosses it at him through the spout in the wall. Flames engulf his struggling figure at once. We don't go out, and just watch them turn into 3 charred corpses, billowing black smoke on the screen, until they finally stop moving. The coast is clear half an hour later. Dad goes out to clean up the area, and finds a fireproof bag in the arms of the charred leader. We find a hand-drawn map inside, with a circle around Blackville. A label next to it says, suspected groundwater vein edges. The map lights up Dad's eyes at once. If there's water flowing underground, our quality of life will improve a lot. Dad points to the contour lines on the map. Groundwater is constantly warm and inexhaustible, making it better than hoarding bottled water. According to the map, the suspected groundwater vein edges are located directly beneath our house. In 3 days, the place becomes a construction site. We take turns working, starting to dig in the corner of a 200-square-foot bunker. It's tough, hard work. The permafrost below is as hard as iron, making my hands go numb when I dig. We end up drilling holes first, before slowly hacking away with a pickaxe. Sweat pours down our bodies, before quickly cooling down in the cold. To conserve energy, we add an extra cookie to each meal. The cramped space stinks of dirt and sweat. Everyone knows that water is more important than life during the apocalypse, even more so than grains. After digging for 3 days, we've dug 10 feet. Dad's swinging his pickaxe when he suddenly freezes. Thump! It's not a dull thud anymore, but a hollow echo. Dad carefully knocks the dirt again, and the solid dirt suddenly collapses in a chunk, revealing a dark hole beyond. A damp, musty draft then slowly wafts up. The flashlight shines into the darkness. There's a man-made tunnel below the opening. The cement walls are covered in moss, and traces of graffiti can be seen as well. This is most probably one of the abandoned air raid shelters from the past. Dad goes to scout it out with a safety rope. 10 minutes later, his trembling voice appears. Come down. Quick, there really is running water. Mom and I slide down the narrow rope ladder, right past a narrow passageway. The view soon appears before us. A dark river flows quietly at the end of the tunnel. It's not very big, but the surface of the water shimmers when lit up by the flashlights. I reach out to touch it. It's surprisingly warm at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Dad's holding the thermometer, while his cheeks flush excitedly. It's the constant zone of subsurface temperature. The water here isn't frozen. We can build a water circulation system, and use geothermal energy to heat the bunker. We can even shower now. In this hellish minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit weather, 40 degrees Fahrenheit water is like a hot spring to us. We look greedily at the underground river, like we're looking at liquid gold. However, just as we're taking a sample from the ground, the flashlight suddenly shines on the riverbank, and I freeze at once. A set of footprints is clearly imprinted on the soft, muddy ground. They're tiny and barefooted, with deep toe marks digging into the ground. The soil is still damp. Aside from us, someone else is also living down here, in this bottomless underground network. We follow the trail of damp footprints, groping our way through the maze-like shelter. When we turn a corner piled with moldy crates, our flashlight shines into a corner, where something, or someone, is huddled up. He's very thin due to malnutrition, his clothes are tattered, and his skin is deathly pale from lack of sun. If not for his huge, frightened eyes, we'd think he's just a skeleton. He's a mute orphan from Blackville, Rocky Danon. He has a dead rat in his hands. His mouth is stained with a dark red liquid. There are some green moss-like plants beside him. Dad raises his compound bow and aims it at his forehead. Right now, resources are more precious than lives, and another person only increases the risk. Moreover, he knows the secret of our water source. He doesn't resist and closes his eyes in despair, shaking like a leaf. It's so quiet we can only hear the rushing river. Whatever. Dad puts down his bow and tosses 2 buns at Rocky from his pocket. Rocky's eyes widen, pouncing on them like a beast. As he swallows them without even chewing. After eating, he suddenly comes over and thanks us, pointing to the top of his head. He spreads his arms and makes a huge circle, making anxious sounds. He then clenches his fists and mimics the motion of a car steering wheel before making a throat-slitting gesture. He's warning us that there are big guys coming to kill us.